O'clock. Today is April 10th. It is the Charlton Board of Health meeting. All members are in attendance, as well as Jim Philbrook, Department Head and Health Inspector. See, there's a cake. Are we going to do that first or last?
Yeah, it's totally up to you. Totally up to, the cake is for you.
Oh,
It's all you use, sir. I mean, you're all set.
I don't need nothing.
So it's the reason we're talking about a cake is it's Willie's.
I'm retiring.
Willie's retiring. It's going to be Willie's last meeting, allegedly.
12, 13, 14 years,
How many
right?
years?
13,
About 13.
13. It's an odd number. I thought it would be.
because I think at 14, it was,
Oh.
it used to be Dave Lawrence,
Okay.
Nelson Burlingame, and Barbara Jean. And then he, after the first year he was gone, then you got on.
Okay.
So it's been 13 years.
13 years.
So what I say is we'll have the meeting, get the meeting over, and then we'll cut the cake.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And this
You
is
got,
also,
you got 13 candles?
we have, no, there's not 13 candles.
No.
Also, this is probably our last meeting before
Probably.
town election.
Yeah.
Generally, when we do that, we change, reorganize. So I don't know if you guys want to have discussion on reorganizing.
Well, you wait till, I think Catherine Walker's gonna be a new
She's not in yet.
No, but she's the only one running.
There's a good chance.
Amongst the
I
foregone
said there's a good chance.
Yeah, she's the only one I heard.
Yeah,
Usually we reorganize the meeting before the election.
before the election.
Yeah.
So if we were to reorganize, then I would step down from chair, probably go to vice chair. We'd put John as chair, and then you would be the member. You'd end up being the member for the rest of this meeting.
The rest of this meeting.
Yeah, and then when the new incumbent comes in, they would take your spot and they would begin as the member.
Right.
Anybody have any discussion for that?
No?
You good with that?
Yep.
Are you good with that?
We'll give it a try, sure.
It's your
So
turn.
You want to make a motion?
Make a motion, we can do that.
So we're making a motion that we make John Sanborn chairman, Board of Health, Matt Gagnon vice chair, Willie member.
Yeah.
So there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second. I don't have a choice.
You have a choice.
You can't vote. No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote, the board votes unanimous. So.
Change seats.
Here we go. Done this before.
welcome.
Your bobblehead still stays though.
Oh, no, that's gotta follow.
No, it stays on the table.
Well, yeah, of course. It's gotta stay on the
Well,
table.
congratulations, Chairman.
Thank you. I will be looking to Matt and Jim for guidance, because these guys have both been here many, many years, more than I have. One thing I did want to bring up almost immediately is we have in the audience tonight Mr. Brian Blackwell, and he did contact me about putting this solar farm potential health issues on the agenda, and then I heard from him in the past 24 hours, and he has to be somewhere. He has to leave here at 6:20 in about 15 minutes. So if it's okay with you folks, we can hear his concerns and then move on back to where we were, if that's okay.
Come on up to the front.
Come on up, Brian. Why don't you start by your name and your address, I guess,
Certainly.
just so it's on the record.
Yep, it's Brian Blackwell, 3 Amber Road in town. And just first off, thanks to John for kind of setting this up. I appreciate it, and thanks to the board for hearing me out tonight. Again, appreciate it. As John mentioned, I do have a hard stop at 6:20, so I'll try to keep this brief in respect for your time as well. And really just, I wanted to get together to talk through some of the concerns we've had with some of the solar stuff going on, and especially as it relates to certain projects. So I actually had, I guess ultimately what I'm trying to look for is some support and some guidance from this group as we start looking at different bylaws we can put in place for the town as it relates to any kind of public safety, health, well-being of the residents. So that's what I'm looking for. Ultimately, I don't think we'll solve that tonight, but just some kind of guidance and some help with that is what I'm looking for long term. So tonight to do that, I just want to at least kind of talk through some main concerns, a couple different documents I brought with me. One is a letter I sent to John about a week ago. copies. The other document that I'll actually kind of just reference a little bit is something that Jim had actually provided about a week or so ago to some other residents who were concerned about the EMF. You may have called some emails around that.
Yes.
I'm not terribly concerned about the EMF, but I think this is a great overview document. It talked a lot about how the state views a lot of these large-scale solar arrays coming in. So some good information inside of this. It's not the whole document sent over, just some kind of key sections that are highlighted. And again, I won't go through this part of it in great detail. But before I get into that, just I figured at least talk through the letter a little bit. So the letter I put together for John was actually something I put together there's a project going on in Brookfield Road, which I'm a butter to. And so that project here, just to give you a sense of what it looks like, this is the Mass Pike here. This is residential neighborhood right here, and they're wiping out all this, all trees, about 31 acres of trees, which exposes us directly to the Mass Pike. And so that's the concern of a lot of my letters around. And so my intention with this letter initially was to try to get some support from the board as far as going to the planning board. Unfortunately, last week on Wednesday, the planning board did approve the site plans and essentially didn't take any of our concerns into consideration. Didn't put any of the mitigations we had suggested in place. Basically said there's nothing they can do, their hands are tied by it.
Where's Amber Road?
Amber Road is, if you come up Brookfield Road, you know where the new, relatively new storage space is? Across from that is Apsley Road. Amber's right after that.
Okay.
Yep.
So Brian, this entire outline here, will this all be cut out? Will there be any trees?
There'll be bare trees. The only areas they've left trees is really in the wetlands, and that's because they're required. Obviously, they can't fill in the wetlands.
And I take it your house must be right up in one of these few
Correct.
houses that you can
So
see
we're
the satellite view.
right over here is ours.
All right.
And again, this site plan has been approved, unfortunately. But again, I think there's still some value in what I put together here as it relates to health concerns that I think other residents within town with similar projects that can expose them to traffic like this, I think should be considered and should be reviewed. So even if it's not going to be able to save us at all, I'm hopeful that this will help benefit some other residents in town. And so the main 3 points that I had in the letter, and again, I'll try to go through it quickly for sake of time, is there's a lot of air pollution that comes off the Pike. If you look through the letter, the back end of it, I've got an appendix that has a lot of studies that have been done. Dozens of studies that say within 1,500 feet of a highway, there's all kinds of health risks to go along with it. And one of the best ways they recommended to combat that is with trees. Put tree buffers in place. We currently have 700 feet of trees in place. That's all going to get wiped out behind us. So we're losing our entire buffer of that pollution. The other part of it we're worried about is the noise pollution that comes with this as well. We've done an unofficial study just using a calibrated sound meter, a couple locations. Again, you'll see some of that in the appendix. And we're going to see I'm going to estimate about a 15 decibel increase in our property. Again, right now, those trees are our only buffer that are in place to block that sound from that spike. So we did some studies just in our property line with 600 feet of trees, and then further down where there's some power lines that run through there. So there's no trees in that, and it was about 12 decibels louder, just the same distance from the Pike, actually a little bit further from the Pike, and it increased by 12 decibels. Mass DEP says if you increase the sound by 10 decibels, it's in violation of their regulations. Again, we brought us to the planning board, and they said it's not valid. We asked for a sound study to back some of this up. They said they're just not going to. They weren't going to require it from the applicants. But again, I think this is stuff that should be considered for future projects. So this sound study that we did unofficially was with no leaves in trees. Once you get leaves in trees, obviously it's even quieter. So we're losing all that. So my estimate is about 15 decibel increase, which is about 3 times as loud from what we would hear today. And so the last thing I just wanted to kind of highlight as essentially as a health risk really is the drinking water quality. I'm sure others here can attest to. There have been some issues in town, as you guys know, I'm sure. And so all we were asking for inside of this is just some mitigation around just some simple well tests and some simple certifications. So most panels are very safe. Most panels are enclosed in glass. Most of them have silicone. They have very simple materials. You can require solar installers to provide certification that there are no materials used for the building red list. Just to ensure any contamination doesn't get in the groundwater. All I'm asking for is we ensure solar installers provide that certification. Make sure we don't have toxic chemicals that are exposed. The way these chemicals typically get in the groundwater is debris coming off of a highway. This is near a highway. rocks, hail, things like that can crack those things. Yes, they're rated highly depending on the panel you buy. A lot of companies, large companies, will buy cheap panels that will have a lot of toxins in them. And they'll buy cheap panels that break very easily. What we're asking for is to ensure we're not using those cheap panels before we just say, go ahead and put these things up.
Was that brought to the planning board?
It was. Yeah.
And is there some sort of a certification that the installer is going to provide? No. It's just incumbent on the installer to just.
Good ethics.
Right.
Yeah, so we're relying on people, and in this case here, again, I'll rely on this one here, is that this company coming out of Jersey, they're not local, they don't own the land, they're buying from somebody who's also not local, so they don't have any vested interest to make sure they're maintaining public health. And we have no safeguards in place to make sure nothing happens, really.
I have a question.
Sure.
And I don't know if you know the answer, maybe somebody here does. Of course, the moratorium is one of the things that's going to be voted on at the annual town meeting, May 21st, I believe. And if the moratorium goes through, have you heard from the planning board if, once and this plan is approved, right? So it'll go forward with whatever is expected now. Can they start on that like next month or?
They can start on this one here specifically as soon as the town planner, or the interim town planner, gives them site approval.
Okay.
And they have
So
that
there's
one more
nothing-
review with pre-existing
Okay,
hearing.
so the moratorium, you mentioned it, I just wanted to confirm that, is not gonna.
It won't impact this one here at all. No, and again, I
There's 6 others besides this one, I believe.
correct. There's a lot of other projects, and from what I heard, there's at least 3 to 5 more that are building together the documentation to submit. So we have 20 active, we have 6 more in the loop, we have 3 to 5 more that people talked about that haven't even submitted yet. So we're getting pretty full, and again, I don't want to burden the board here with that discussion. What I'm asking for is some help to basically kind of some backing to say there are health risks that can be involved in solar. And so that's part of the moratorium. We want to say let's take a year to figure out what those health risks are.
Right.
Let's make sure we have zoning bylaws that address those health risks. Right now we have a blurb in our zoning bylaws that just says allowed in every zone. Nothing else to block that.
I think you said that there was like 2 sentences for controlling solar.
Yeah, it's basically the table. Yeah, it's one half of a fragment of the sentence basically, whereas like in North Brookfield, they have 5 pages that cover this. They cover the buffers, they cover the tree loss, they cover a lot of things that essentially the state warns against in the other document they have here. Repeatedly throughout this, the DOER and the DEP reiterate over and over, do not cut down trees with these projects. Cutting down trees is going to cause issues with water management, cause issues with pollution. It's going to cause all the issues we've identified in this already, so what you sent on to me actually helps back up a lot of the research we've seen. Just right now, we have no way to protect the town.
And the zoning bylaws, so I hate to say it, but the planning board, it sounds almost like their hands are tied. They come through, and if somebody's got an engineered plan, as long as there's not silt runoff and there's no known carcinogens or whatever coming off these panels that somebody can prove, they're gonna say, okay, guess you're good to go, which is unfortunate.
I think, sitting in on some of these, I think the planning board has approved these in the past because they are green energy. They look in lieu that there could be 100 houses in this area rather than, and that would be a tax burden on the community. And rather than, and this is a tax provider, and it is green. You see most houses now that are put up, they do have them on their roofs. And how do you limit it? You say you can't build your house and put them on your house or whatever. So I think that's why their hands are tied. But certainly, I know you're saying there's a lot of negatives, but there's also some positives. With the
Great
green.
positives.
And I understand that it's close to the Mass Pike and stuff. I've done plenty of sound studies due to other issues inside on there, but it's hard to do it with cars going by because they just spike the meter off, so it's not even a good reading. But certainly I did look it up and been doing some studying on this, but it certainly, the Board of Health, as always, would look into any health-related risk and keep people informed, but it seems like the planning board's already approved.
This one they have.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the 5 to 10 to 20 more that are coming. I'll reference another project is Bay Path Road. You had folks that had open in front of them, wiped all that out. Now they're basically sitting right on top of Route 20. So other residents are also going to be losing their protection from busy areas.
I lived in Spencer on Paxton Road, and it literally went up to there. The townspeople fought against having a campground. They won, and he ended up putting solar in. campground, so he said, all right, and he sold it to a solar farm, and it actually went right up to their backyard. It was a nice view of the lake and stuff, and that was gone. But I understand. I've been dealing with a lot of emails and answering people that have had some concerns, so.
Yeah, there's another group, and I don't know if you've been in contact with them. But I would just caution you that if the moratorium does go through, a year is gonna go by like a blink of an eye. And if you're trying to get something through, it's like any town government. We'll meet on average maybe once a month, but where you have to go through, you might have to go through Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen, and other groups. I'm trying to think who else could be involved, but it's you know, hit the ground running, I guess, is my word of word to the wise, and certainly we'll be here to listen to whatever you and the other folks in town have to say about this. And research is good, and the better. And I think it's going to come down to putting in, you know, a greater buffer zone and so forth, so that it doesn't impact residents like what you showed in the photo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you had something to say. But.
Yeah, I'd like to throw in my 2 cents. So from what you brought, looking at it strictly from a public health and safety, you know, the air pollution, it's really not coming from the solar farm, it's coming from the pike. The noise pollution, it's really not coming from the solar farm, it's coming from the pike.
Correct.
I recognize that had that not been altered, you know, I understand that the removal of those trees, now there's a change for you. And I see where you're getting at, how you could say that's the problem. But really, I mean, we're hard pressed to say that solar farm is creating noise pollution. It's just not, you know. The drinking of the water quality, I think that's a stretch as far as something getting broken and then contaminating into the ground. Personally, that's how I feel. So I'm not really seeing a health. You know, if you told me, listen, birds are flying over and it's so bright that they're vaporizing and coming down and smashing things, now you got something. And that may actually happen on these large scale ones, you know. But in the ones that you're saying about the Mass Pike, I think that's going to be directly related to you or to that project because of its location. Other things, you know, landowners also have the right to develop their land any way they want. So you could be looking at, you know, housing or anything where they still have the right to clear those trees down. So at this point, I would certainly listen and not close the door on any health risk. But I'm not seeing one here. And I know it's a terrible change. I don't think if I lived in your house, I'd want to see that. I agree that maybe there should be some more buffers put in place. I totally think if I was sitting on the planning board and had that ability to maybe put in 2 cents, that would be an area that I'd want to, you know, explore. But from a public health and safety, I'm not seeing a health risk here. I also want to just say straight up, I've been heavily involved in creating these solar farms as in my work industry. You mentioned the one on Bay Path Road. I personally cut down almost every tree on that. So I don't want to sit here and be biased because I got work 4 years ago and say, well, this is why I'm for these solar farms. I'm not, okay? That work came and went, and as an industry, the solar farms actually hurt my industry, okay? It's work today, but there's no work tomorrow. It's one of those deals. So I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying like I don't support this because I cut trees down. That's not what it's about. I have open eyes and open ears, but at this point, I'm not really following the health risks.
Yes.
I think the Mass Pike will review this, and if there's any possibility of glare that would affect cars driving on the Mass Pike, they're going to put up a wall, which would cut down on the noise, because they can't have a risk of glare while people are driving if it's that close to the Mass Pike. They've done it in other areas where they put up this long wooden wall to protect, because they can't have the risk of people driving and having that glare.
It's true, it'll be facing due south at that
So.
point. Go ahead,
Coming
yes.
back to that real fast is that 2 quick things I want to be clear too is that I'm not opposed to the solar itself, right? I think the solar aspect of it is great, and as somebody has mentioned a number of times in town, we have a large land area within Charlton, huge. It's one of the top 5 in the state. So there are plenty of better opportunities to put these places as opposed to exposing residents directly to traffic. So I do think there is opportunity to do it. I'm not anti-solar by any means.
Right.
Just want to make sure that was clear too.
Yeah.
They have the right to use their land, but you have to use it safely with abutters. As far as the Mass Pike is causing it, not the solar farm, I agree. But as part of the DEP, you do have to go through, environmental impact studies.
Correct.
And so, haven't seen any evidence of that in this case specifically, and I think we should be pushing that issue because if you do change the environment as such that surrounding area impacts, that is considered an impact from that solar farm.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And do they do?
And
an
that's where
impact
we're coming
study?
from in this one here.
Do they do an impact study? Is there a
None.
threshold for like 5 acres, 10 acres, 20
25
acres?
acres, they have to do an
25.
ENF, yep,
Okay.
environmental notification
Okay.
form. And so there isn't one on file that we could find for this.
Okay, because this is 22.
32 acres,
32.
31.86
Is it
I
all
think it is.
considered at 32? Well, obviously not.
Is, just curious, because on the size of the solar array itself, is that threshold under the 25? It might be on 32 acres of land, but how
Correct.
big is the,
I'm not sure the exact
because
clearing of it is.
from what I understand, and I'm, just kind of, I hear about it being working in the trades, but that 25 acre is the threshold. But you might develop, 24.9 acres on a 50 acre piece because once you get over 25, it's a whole nother animal as far as permits go. It becomes federal, and it's a whole stormwater management, triples and all that. So that's why most of these solar farms, they might be 20 acres of panels and then 2 or 3 acres for access roads, detention
Yep.
basins and all that. And disturbed area comes out to be just under the 25.
Right.
That's probably what we're talking about.
That's what I would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought up was that they do consider that if you've impacted the surrounding area, that is part of that project.
Yeah, no, I agree
So,
with that.
yeah.
But the impact study may not have triggered if,
Correct. It may not have triggered that, but they do deem it as if you've impacted the surrounding area. So
Mhm.
even though they're not making the noise, they're not making the pollution, they are exposing the surrounding area to that environment.
yeah.
So this is a 3-phase, this is all 3-phase. So
Correct.
you gotta tie into the high tension line,
Yeah.
so you gotta make a road to that.
No, it's there.
Oh,
This-
it's there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're struggling a bit with the tie-ins right now,
Yeah.
from what I understand, again, for this specific project, but I don't want to be too focused on just this as much as I love it personally. I do think there's merit in looking at this for the zoning bylaws to help others in town, so.
Oh, the high tension's right there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, right on the side of Brookfield Road.
Yeah,
comes
it
up
comes
Road
right up.
Pike.
Right,
Yeah.
well, that makes it good.
John?
Yes.
Yeah, and I get it because I'm on the other side of the construction aspect of it.
Yep.
And it seems to me like what you're allowed to do for the solar compared to non-solar, it's a lot. Like, go ahead and wipe out 30 acres, and there's ponds and pools and
Right.
it's like, well, they just move it and they really seem, from my experience, and I'm not just talking this town, I'd like to say this state. I've worked in all different towns in the state doing solar farms, and it just seems like they get away with a lot. And sometimes, as the logger, it's like, yeah, I'm working there, and we scratch our heads, and it was like, how'd they get this one? How'd they get away with this? And that's a lot of reasons why solar goes in, because it wasn't ideal for building, so they put the
Right.
solar farm in. So
Towns don't push back, that's why they get away with it.
Mhm.
And so I think we've got to protect ourselves in the way we can push back.
I think they have to be diligent in making sure that there's not grass that grows high in debris, because the risk of fire is another issue. And you really can't go in there blasting a hose if there's a fire, and if they don't keep the grass trimmed and all that, and I think it's part of it in the planning, that's one of the stipulations, but
Right.
it's something to think about.
Yeah.
And that is consideration when they do that,
Mhm.
because the solar guys don't want the maintenance either.
Right.
So they go with a low-lying
Yep.
mixed bed, and it's an expensive grass seed that they use, so it doesn't grow.
Yep.
They they don't want it to grow.
Stays real low.
Stabilizes, but it doesn't
Yep.
grow. So
What if it does grow and catches a fire?
They're required to maintain
They're
it. and
responsible for that?
They're responsible for that.
Who
That's part of the
oversees that?
agreement.
Do you know who oversees that? Is that
That's a good
zoning
question.
enforcement or
It's from
fire
Mayor Kurt.
department or?
I know Kurt will look at least the access to it and make sure they can get fire trucks down there in the event
Yeah.
of a fire.
Yeah, I'm thinking
As far as the
ongoing,
maintenance,
though. Yeah.
it's up to the applicants or the property owners to maintain it.
Yeah. And that's one of the stipulations. when we get the applicant, all department heads get, you know, these applications for, that they have to maintain free of any, so. But I certainly will continue to look into the
Okay.
issues, and I'll actually, I'll give you my card, if you email me, I'll add you to the other, I can show you the other issues.
Sure.
that people have.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Again, I wanted to get the dialogue started today. I didn't want to take up a ton of time. I appreciate you guys at least listening and having some initial talks.
Thanks,
to us.
Brian. I do hope you work with the other.
With Lori,
groups that
yeah,
are
I've been working with
concerned
Lori on
and-
this a lot. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
And, you know,
Just make sure you sign in, please.
Yep, we'll do. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, great. Thank you guys
Thanks,
very
Brian.
much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming.
it. Thank you. Congrats on retirement.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Time the next. All right. I guess we can move on to private well regulations, if that's appropriate.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Chairman, I think everyone's approved them, but we need a signed official copy, because I need to give this to Ty and Bond,
Okay.
who on Thursday will be opening at the town of Southbridge, and they need to have a clean cut copy to hand out to the bidders that is signed and approved. I gave them a temporary one that was approved by the board, but this is the first meeting where we can sign a copy that this is the one that we go by. The other ones are all gonna be thrown away. Copies are made of this one.
So you have that with you tonight?
The final
All
draft.
three of us can sign? You use this pen, it's like it writes about this line, it's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
magic marker.
Billy, you wanna sign with this blue pen? It's good if you sign in blue, then we'll know it's the original copy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Good idea. This one is like super wide.
Yeah, they're. And this is what exactly has been approved in the draft copy that were changed and what the board's wishes were a few meetings ago, a couple meetings ago, so.
So this will become the official copy, official regulations?
This, and I'll have it notarized, and that'll be the official copy that won't, anything that's copied will come from that.
Okay. Question would
Yep.
be, is this something that would go on the website?
We're gonna put it on the website.
Okay, good.
Yep. We try and put as much on the website as possible, that
Makes
is,
sense.
but we wanna make sure it's a clean copy and that it's approved by the board, so when it's posted that we don't get, we'll take off the other one and make sure this is the updated version of that.
Right. And this will be.
Because we're gonna have a lot of well decommissioning coming along, and
Right.
that's generally what they're gonna be looking for.
Okay. Is there anything else along those lines from you, or?
No, it's just that, like I said, Thursday at 2:00 in Southbridge, they'll be opening up the bid for the water line. And I want to be there for Ty and Bond as requested. After this copy is signed, I'm going to scan it and send it to Cassandra LaRochelle, who will add this into the bid spec documents that they have to comply with the Charlton well decommissioning. And that's it in there.
Okay.
Can we
Yes.
talk about that?
Yes, please.
So the bids go out on, the openings on Thursday.
Mhm.
There's a specific line item for the decommissioning of the wells.
Yes.
It sounds to me like they also put in on one of the addendums to price point the P-Stone in there.
It was only if there was any way possible that if something didn't happen that they had to do P-Stone, but it's not. They know that it's neat cement from top to bottom, period.
Why is
So
that in there, then?
I was under the impression that they were trying to get a cost analysis of what the P-Stone was compared to what the neat cement
That
was
may
gonna
be,
be.
that may be, and that's something we talked about, is that was when that scope of the 10 million, that they appropriated a certain amount for the well decommissioning, and they're trying to see if it's over that, and I said, I don't care, as long as it's under the 10 million, there's be no cost to the municipality, so.
So I guess my question is, what I saw, I think there was maybe 49 companies that took out, proposed to bid on that.
I did send you an updated one I think there's more,
Yeah.
because they have until 2:00 on Thursday to do it,
Yeah,
or
so
1:30.
I saw 49 different companies
Yep.
take that out for bid to at least review it. My question is just to this board, of course, we had this discussion about the difference with the P-Stone versus the neat cement, but,
Mhm.
if they're using that addendum price point to say, well, you know, we could have got the pea stone for this price, but the neat cement was this, and they try and come after the town, it is.
No one's gonna bid on the pea stone, from what I understand.
Yeah, Mike,
Oh,
yeah,
Stop that, though.
well, it's, you have to bid on it.
You have to bid on it.
You have to, so
But it's gonna-
that's, they're required to bid on it.
What they're gonna come up with is, and I think they're gonna realize that the neat cement, from top to bottom, although it's mandated, if it costs more, that they're not gonna be getting anything from the town of Charlton. It's gonna stay under that $10 million bid. I think they were just trying to add that in to see if there was a price difference, and that was discussed, and not with us, because it was clear and defined at the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
That it's neat cement from top to bottom, period. And I made that clear in emails, which I could show everyone, that there is no pea stone that's going to be allowed. And if the 88 wells that are decommissioned, we're still charging for those, and I'll assure that they are. Otherwise, they're not gonna proceed forward.
Yeah, so I was just throwing it out there, if, you know, they're saying, well, you know, there was a difference of price, where do you, how are they, even though they get this addendum
how do
for
you
the price
justify
point,
that?
How can you actually say it? Because I know some prices are gonna be the same and maybe even more for the
You're
pea
right.
stone, because
You're
it's
right.
more labor intensive and it's all prevailing wage work, as opposed to having one guy or two guys pump with a pipe. So it's like, but do they price point from the winning bid? Do they take an average of all 50 contractors? I mean, how are they gonna figure out that Charlton's responsible? It's be
Charlton-
interesting to see.
It's gonna be interesting,
Yeah.
but I told them straight out at the meeting, the wish of the board, and even the DEP regulations don't allow for crushed stone.
Why is it even in that
So
contract?
it was there because the ACO agreement had it, so they kept it in there just to get a price difference as the DEP. I think Marty had them keep it in there, but certainly, even if it goes over, there's a built-in cushion in there that they'll use that. I mean, there's been work order changes all over the place.
Yeah.
And certainly, they made it clear that even if it went over, the town of Charlton's not gonna be responsible for anything. With $6,000 in well decommissioning permits that'll come to this office. So, and I'll assure that each and every one of them, I'll inspect myself to assure that they are neat cement from top to bottom.
And you have to be there when they pour the final neat cement in.
We'll only do so many per day, I mean, or one or two, but I'm assured that I will be there to make sure that it's done properly.
Okay.
Through the chair?
Yes, please.
So I think, Jim, yeah, you have the right to spot check.
Yeah.
You wanna go at the beginning, the end, the middle, whenever you wanna go.
That's the way I left it with the Mass Pike when they did it. I just popped in, stayed for a while, came back again. It took quite a while to fill. They went slow. It's not just all out, he said. They did it right. And that's what we expected they'd do. We're not gonna allow someone to come in and if you fill too fast, he was telling me, you don't go down far enough. Some of these companies have cameras on the end. You know, I don't know what they're gonna get for a bid, but certainly I'll make sure that it's decommissioned properly.
Have you heard anything along the timeline for the construction of this? Because I'm hearing now that there may be a delay.
If there's any delay, it's because they don't have the pump house.
They have to build a pump house and order it? and
No,
whatnot?
that's not gonna delay it. I just think that their expectations of getting it done that soon are driven by the DEP. They want it done.
Through the chair, I've heard through a couple of well drillers that have been contracted to do this decommission, contacted to do the decommissioning bid on it. And they're nervous because they don't want to throw a number out there this season and not go there this season if it's not going to be they don't want to bid something that's a year and a half away.
No, I think once they get going, they from what our meetings indicated that this was something that's moving forward without even having that pump house. I mean, done. It's in the process. I think they ran into a couple of issues, but talking to Peter Boria, that's still that's in the works.
So I don't think that they would be able to decommission the well until the pump house
You're
is
right.
functioning.
And I see where you're going there.
Oh,
But I think
yeah.
once the pump house is going, I think that it'll be quick.
Oh, I thought I heard, and maybe I'm
Yeah.
hearing, but I thought I heard something about a delay with that pump house.
There was a delay, but from what I hear, and I'm not 100% sure, but I thought that, speaking to Peter, that was corrected.
Oh, good.
It has to be, I mean, they
Yeah.
can't touch it well until the line's in pressured and.
Yeah, you can't shut anyone off, that's for sure, without, so but I think, they're moving quickly.
Mm.
But certainly if there is a delay, it's gonna be on the end of, because the pump house isn't built.
What's the time frame? Current estimate for the pump house completion? Fall?
That, I thought should have already been started, so I don't know exactly, but they would ran into some kind of roadblock, but I believe that it's
What
gonna
they
be done.
wanted was fall.
Fall, yes.
Yeah, I don't think it was already supposed to be started because it hasn't gone out to bid yet.
No, it hasn't gone to bid yet.
So-
There was a holdup.
Yeah.
But I thought they were gonna try and do it simultaneously where, one crew was working pump house and taking care of that.
Yep.
Another crew was laying pipe and dealing with that, and maybe even another crew potentially doing the laterals and.
It only makes sense to do it that way, but I'm not sure who's gonna, if they're gonna wait for that and hold it up, or get everything in the ground and then go from there. I'm not sure.
No, I don't know.
How many different bidders are gonna be on it? One bid can't do it all. One bidder
They'll
can't.
sub.
They'll sub it out.
They'll sub it out depending on who they award the bid to. They have to meet certain specifications too. Even if they award it,
They
they're gonna
want
do
one
their.
company doing something, another one in their way, and, it ain't good to work that way.
No.
No, I would suspect that they would have a few crews working, not just one.
It should be one company, one big company.
Yeah, they're gonna award it to one company and they're gonna have to sub it out, but there'll be oversight.
Well, to be honest, I saw that the list of people that had taken out the applications, and some companies were like 2 and 3 man bands, and other companies were quite big.
Yeah,
So-
I've seen, and one was electrical
Hmm.
contractor. I was like,
So they got it, and then they're gonna sub it out to somebody big
I don't know.
to make money on them.
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Has to be.
but I will go to it on Thursday, so, after they award it, I will inform the board of who has the bid. I don't think it's official until they award it, but then I'll have to check everything to make sure they're up to date with all their insurance
They
and
have
their
all their bonds and
bonds
everything
and,
else.
yeah, so but I figured I'd go anyway. It's gonna probably take a while,
I would think.
but I'll be there
Good,
Thursday at
thank you.
2, so.
Anything else, Jim, along those lines?
No.
We do have 2 residents in the audience from Beechfoot Road. I don't want to start talking about marijuana regulations if you had some concerns or anything with that.
Why they're smoking it, you mean?
I don't think so.
It's his last meeting, so.
Yeah, we'll give him a pass on that one.
You're here for cake.
Camera's right on there.
Nothing from you folks, no? Okay, all right.
Nope.
Then we will move on, if I haven't skipped over something.
I think I have something on
Yeah,
your
go
behalf,
ahead.
that she really put her nose to the grindstone and got the DEP moving, because she had some issues with testing, and I wanna make sure that you're happy of what you received from Ty and Bond as to your answer to your question for the testing.
I think it answered the questions we had. I don't think happy's a good adjective, but I
You're-
think I think we're
I admit it.
satisfied
When
with
I
what
read it,
we
I
had
was
to
like-
say. I guess,
This-
the end result is, it is what it is.
Yep.
And we'll continue to keep an eye on it, but I think at this point, it answered the questions.
This
that we
was the
had.
timing of the test results, correct? Is that the one? Because I've been copied on some of these.
The extra
The extra.
contaminations of
Yes.
concerns that were appearing.
Yeah.
That weren't
the
identified.
JPEGs that weren't identified.
That weren't identified.
Right.
And it took a while to get
It
the
did.
final resolution on that, as I
Right.
recall.
And if she didn't send her articulate response, and probably still wouldn't hear from it. But they did come back with basically not really an answer that
Right.
really answered it, and
Right.
left it unknown, but,
My concern is they say it's a tick or a J hit, where it was .5.
right,
The dioxin is over the limit at .3.
yep,
So depending on what this is, could be
yeah,
a trace or it could be really bad.
right.
but
Continue to monitor what's happening.
And they are working to, for closure for the east slope, did you hear?
I did hear that.
So Mary Jude has called Robin informed me, and Mary Jude, so I think we will, if you still smell anything in the cellars, still continue to have everyone call.
This is blue.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's acceptable.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else on that subject? Nope.
Okay.
I guess we're ready to talk
Marijuana
marijuana regulations.
The board, I did want to ask the board if we could change something to meet, we had 300 feet on the one that you adopted, and the state minimum is 5. So I would ask the board if we could just change that 3 to 5 from a school.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend our Charlton Board of Health, well, marijuana regulations for the distance of, what was it, a school or?
It's school, daycare, public library, park, or playground from 3 to 500,
From 300 feet to 500 feet.
which is,
I make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Pass.
Also, I did, the state, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Cheryl Sabara had sent around something to allow boards of health to have more authority also under the food aspect of it, that it was defined under 590. And I had spoken to Matt when he was chair about looking at this, we discussed it, and that we just need a vote tonight. I know it's, I've read this over quite a bit. It is basically on par with what the state would be adopting to assist local boards of health, that in case there was an issue with the product that they say is not food, it is considered food, and we give more authority to the local, myself and the local board to do enforcement procedures if they weren't complying with the local health laws.
I do have a question on that.
Yes.
I am in agreement, at least with what you're saying. Medical marijuana, is the medical marijuana currently only in the form of the dry cannabis that somebody
No.
would smoke? So it could already be in brownies?
Pizza dough, brownies, gummy bears.
And they would sell, but they wouldn't sell that as medicinal, would they? Or would they? Does anybody
Some
know?
people could do that as medicinal. More medicinal, it would be more oils or the product itself. Some people are more sensitive that people may think they are doing it, and they would choose to do the eating product. So it doesn't, if they have children or someone around, that they would be more sensitive to, almost, I would say, hide it, but not be openly, they're just smoking in that, perhaps because they have other people around. They would get the brownies, the food product.
And that would be sold potentially at the facility in Charlton?
It's going to be, yes.
It will be, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
How
what I
will
was-
that be tested though? Because I know they make brownies with the roots from
The oils. This is strictly regulated, but through the state state is regulate this.
Well, I mean,
It's not through the DPH.
they can make it stronger or
It's from the
whatever, so
advisory
how
committee.
would that be tested?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably,
They have to comply, they're very, very strict. There's a committee, they have their own inspectors that go to the growing facilities that would oversee this, because DPH does not have control, Department of Public Health, and that's why this was drafted, to give some authority back to the local boards. But it is not under, I vote in the executive committee, LSAC, and they don't have anything to do with it. They appointed their own board, their own commission, their own inspectors.
Is this one company gonna do it, or are they gonna have different companies bring it in?
No, the state is going to oversight.
Yeah, they're gonna say, well, this company can do it.
It has to be made on site. You have to be approved
It
and
has to be made
inspected.
on site.
Yes, yep.
I do like this idea, though. I think that if there is an issue, we don't need our hands tied. We need to get
Yeah.
somebody there that is.
This basically, and
representative,
under
right?
definitions, unless otherwise indicated, terms used throughout this regulation shall be defined as they are in 935 CMR 500, which is the marijuana regulations, and in general law, chapter 94, section 1. It addresses adult-only retail tobacco store, boards of health, Charlton Board of Health, and its designated board of health agents. What it does is they had Cheryl Sabara, the senior staff attorney, draft up something which allows local boards of health to have more authority to do enforcement. This one that we made up was the one we adopted from earlier,
That's the
from the one
that-
from Worcester. the one page,
The one page.
which I would like to maybe put into this one and have one copy and draft this into this and have the board look at it again,
For next meeting?
for the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
But,
I'm in favor, yes.
because we did bring this up at the last meeting, and I said that the board, because April 1st was the deadline with a crossover where you would have the boards approving this, and then medical would also encompass retail. As of April 1st, that was allowed. That's why we had the hearing the other night. We had maybe 20 people in the selectmen's room to read that there would be, what their strict regulations would be as far as selling retail, which they're allowed to do. So I did receive a couple calls from other towns asking me to assist them in developing a marijuana advisory committee, and I've agreed to help them.
Thank you.
I always said that there always should be your health director or someone who is a representative of Board of Health to oversee the board, because the Board of Health is gonna have the most authority.
You know, a lot of people are gonna, like the older people, give it to their kids and stuff. What's the fines and stuff? The police department's gonna take care of?
It's legal to grow your own. You can grow
Yeah,
6
but-
plants, your wife can grow 6
Okay,
plants.
and then all of a sudden a kid grabs a bunch of it and goes out driving and got a bunch in the car. Over, too much.
Well, that's the problem with the police. It's very difficult to,
This is not gonna be,
If you're
it's
smoking-
ain't gonna be perfect.
but the law allows you to smoke marijuana. It's legal now, so,
Not in a vehicle, is it?
no, that would be impaired driving.
And then what do they do if you're not smoking it, but you do have it in your system?
It
I
doesn't,
mean, at workplaces, you can't,
and that's something
they
that,
let you go.
that's something that even if a police officer pulls you over and you're smoking in your car, I don't believe you'll get arrested. It's legal. You can smoke a cigarette in your car.
You can be over,
Because if you take this to court, and police officer said it at an advisory committee, he said, I don't enforce it.
I know
It's
some
illegal.
people that drink it, and, I mean.
There's
smoke
no,
it.
nothing, there's no law
And,
prohibiting
has a
that.
kite.
And they don't have a
The
good
problem
way
is, there's no way to
how
test
much,
them.
you know, right. And
Now you
that's
can't
true.
take a breathalyzer.
Yeah, but you can urine test, blood.
You can't. You'd have to get you'd
I
have to.
mean, they're gonna
subpoena
have
the
big
records.
problems with that, because I know people, some of them go crazy, some of them.
You're right, like anything, people drive on pharmaceuticals, they drive with altered. If you get stopped and they feel that you're on any kind of, that would alter your mental status of driving, they can arrest you,
Mhm.
because you're driving altered. But
Right.
that would be a definition that the police would have to use their best judgment
Mhm.
on what they do.
Yeah, it's up to
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, and I know that's
They're
why
gonna have
the.
problems with it, no matter what they do now.
And I think that's why Charlton has a good police department, but I think they probably don't have adequate police staffing at this point, so we'll see what happens
Look
with
like
this.
these California and all too, where they're having big problems with that, big problems.
So, yeah, impaired driving is illegal, but like I said,
You work construction or something, they be tested, you're fired.
sure, heavy equipment and
well, if you have a
so forth.
CDL license and just like as a firefighter and you get in an accident, you get tested. You have to go
Right.
do a urine test and you get tested. Yep, like anything, you're gonna be responsible for your own actions, and if you're driving impaired, then you're driving
Well, as
illegal.
long as people know what the laws are.
I don't think there's a definitive law out there, and there's not an ample way to test unless, it's very hard to get, if you go into a hospital, the police just can't say, give me their lab test. You have to subpoena those records. They're not allowed to give you it. They're HIPAA violations. You're not allowed to see my medical records. So,
You know, you can take when you're drinking, you can take a breath, or
you're right, it's easy when you do a breathalyzer, because
walk the
it's
line,
driving
or
impaired.
whatever.
But you can smell alcohol, you certainly can smell marijuana, but if you're eating a brownie, I don't, or
I watch the cops on TV, and they'll pull somebody over and they'll say, "Hey, I smell marijuana." And you get out, the cuffs on them.
and that's a tough thing to enforce, because when you get to court, usually they say, well, they throw it out. That's according, that's what the police, it's
gonna happen, eh?
marijuana in Massachusetts is legal.
Part of the problem is it's evolved.
Right.
Before marijuana was smoked, you
Right.
knew it.
You knew it.
Then there was the famous pot brownies that was like a party favor, but
Right.
but it wasn't an everyday occurrence. Now the norm is gummy bears or
Yep.
edibles and all this, and less people are smoking it because it does kind of stink and it gets on your clothes and everything.
Sure.
but they're still taking the drug, but nobody knows it because it's a different
And the
method.
THC levels on this marijuana are very, very high in this. It's not, you know,
Yeah, it's a little scary. And the scary thing too is gummy bears and so forth getting into the kids' hands,
Yeah.
and that's why.
you can't sell them in colorful products, colorful packages. You can't advertise any way. You're very limited to that. You're escorted in if you're 21. If you're under 21, you're not allowed on the property.
Right,
So,
That ain't going to be the problem, is when they get it home.
right.
yeah, and there's nothing we can do. You're responsible for your own actions, and certainly it becomes a police matter after that.
Yeah, but I do agree with you, the regulations, and thanks to Cheryl Sabara for providing those to us.
Yeah, 'cause
I know
what-
if they didn't get it from this town, they can go to Leicester,
They
they
go to
can go to
Leicester,
any
there's
town
four,
and get
Worcester,
it. It ain't. It ain't-
Uxbridge
But
just
we're looking
approved
for the
too.
taxes in this town, and it's big taxes we're getting off of this. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, because you can't usually tax your prescriptions, which they would consider prescription, but they've agreed in the host agreement to pay 3% of not only the medical marijuana, but the recreational.
Mhm.
And from what he was stating, it'll be over $300,000.
That's
Also,
right.
they've given $50,000 to the town for educational purposes, provide education to the citizens and to a certain target group that we're trying to identify. But we have a regional school. Dudley hasn't approved it, so what is the age group that you want to target? Will the schools approve to do any kind of educational thing, or does it lie with the Board of Health to provide education and oversight through this department? And that's something we're trying to, in our advisory committee.
I mean, the money is set aside. It would be the Board of Selectmen, I would assume, that would make that call.
I'm not sure. It's certainly, it's not like they gave the money to I'm the chairman of the medical marijuana advisory committee.
Mhm.
And certainly we're addressing the issues as they come along and making sure that the regulations are hot off the press.
Right.
This is so new, it's really like, what do you
Learn
do?
on the fly.
You're right, you learn it on the fly, so.
I think there should be something in the store where you can get a pamphlet where the laws are.
That's a good idea.
You know what
Well,
I
we're gonna
mean?
post it on our website
Yeah,
and
but
put the
that-
regulations on there.
But the people that go in and do it don't even look at the website.
Yeah, they're not gonna look at
But
in
if
the
they
store.
take a pamphlet and say, hey, I can only do this, I can only buy this, I can't do this, and it'd be something.
I think anyone can, if you're over 21, you can buy it, period.
They don't know what's gonna happen. Half of these people are gonna be new at it.
I think the people that are buying over 20 and are already smoking it.
Oh, yeah, but it's gonna get more and more.
Yeah. So, like anything, it's new. States adopted it. I don't, we're trying to regulate it as written, but we're trying to make sure that we have a little more, this board and myself, if I feel there's anything in violation, that I would report to the board and we have the authority to revoke their license. No one else has that, but the board would have that
I
authority.
would just feel bad if I knew a family, they got killed and they were smoking marijuana. And we said, okay, go for it, and there's no
We don't-
rules and regulations on it.
We don't have, a board, don't have any say,
But I don't know.
period. We have a little bit of say as far as the food and what it is, but this is mass law. This was developed and they
No,
they
we
regulate it through their own
voted it in.
inspectors.
Massachusetts voted.
And Charlton overwhelmingly voted in favor, so. But we're doing what we can.
Yeah.
The board, I'm trying to make sure the board is kept advised of the authority of the board, and that I would make sure that I inspect it. And if anything is out of sorts, that I would certainly come back to this board to inform this board that, you know, like I said, we're kind of learning on the fly here. We don't know what it's going to be like, or what's the traffic situation going to be at the corner. I think they're trying to buy some kind of, they're going to have to increase the traffic parking lot, so they're looking to buy in those 2 lots that are next to it. I'm not sure where they are, but there's 2 lots available. I don't know, but that's certainly, health-wise, that's going to be up to them, but they're moving quickly.
Yeah, there could be a problem there,
They-
but they can always go around.
Yeah, they had a large piece of land there.
Yeah, they
They do.
own them quite a bit.
I wonder if it's in the work. I know there's a committee looking at it, but I
Yeah.
just wonder if they could access that Howlett Drive and then come in the back parking lot and walk down a set of stairs. Or something.
There is a traffic committee that the police, fire chief, and a few other, I'm not on, but certainly I'm not sure if they've even met or how far they're along, but there was a MIPA, there was a traffic study, and I think the problem is if you pull off a 20 coming down to go left, you have to go a little further, and you have to almost loop around to get in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have to change that,
Yeah.
because it's gonna cause some issues. Just like Treehouse Brew, when they pull out, it's still people going left into Zorbas, and then certainly if people are starting to do U-turns by the McDonald's to come back around, it's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, it's true.
I know this got nothing to do with us, but you went down 31 to Dudley,
Yes.
you see they said.
No,
that
the signs with the blinking yellow
blinking
lights.
lights, there's a
and big-
4,
Yes.
on every 4 corners, like they
Yep.
should be one
Yep,
on
so
Stafford
you
Street.
don't have
That
to look at
is
this little
neat.
sign that says Dresser Hill number 2, that's this big. Now the sign is
Like
4
this.
feet long, a foot high.
Yeah,
And
Dudley went
there's
big signs.
There's a four-way
I like that.
light there, and there's a blinking light at every 4 corner,
Yep.
and they should have one over here on
I don't know if
Stafford
that was a grant for the municipalities that they
Yeah,
applied
it's
for, but
great.
Connecticut already
Drive
has
down through
that.
there, you say,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
and you look
It's a big help, I think, for somebody coming from out of town.
all the way down
And
through, everywhere.
First of all,
Dudley
you
they're
can
doing
see
that.
it, even with poor eyesight, you can't
I haven't
miss
seen
those
it.
signs.
And they
Well,
slow
when you go,
it's-
when you go down there, just after you go
Go
into
down.
Dudley and around the
Get
corner. I
down
was
by
just down
Dresser
there.
Hill, ice cream.
Keep going on
Stay
31,
down that road,
head
and you'll
towards
be,
Connecticut. You'll see,
you'll say, wow.
within a mile, you'll see all these signs.
That's
They've
why I
done a
think
great job.
the highway department should just ride down that road.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I
It's
think they're,
unreal.
I think they're powered by solar, maybe, the
Yeah,
ones
yeah,
with the
they got
blinking
a-
LEDs.
they got a
It's
little
got
bitty
it's a
thing on
yellow
the
sign,
top.
intersection ahead, and it's got
And it's-
blinking yellow all the way
and
around
it's
it.
blinking, and you
I
gotta-
drove down there at night, and you could, I mean, it's just like
Unreal.
pops at you. Like,
There would
oh,
never be
geez,
another accident on Stafford Street,
That would be nice, because we've lost some people there.
and a
Yeah,
few
I
other
lost some really good
places.
friends, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I was stunned by it.
Jim, anything else? Medical or recreational or department head reports?
I inspected Bay Path today, at the schools that are due, so I'm doing all the schools. They look very good, Bay Path looks excellent. Excellent job by all. There's actually 4, I have to inspect where the students eat, the bakery where the students are taught and sell, and then where the students cook the food, and then the Hilltop, the restaurant itself, which does a phenomenal job of feeding. A lot of the seniors use that a lot, but I inspected that today. Certainly, we're going to be having for 10 weeks, a public health student that's going to be working on some of the contamination issues, as they did for WPI. He'll be paid for by the state, he or she, I don't know. They're supposed to come back with a person, and I'll invite that person to a Board of Health meeting so the board can, sit down and speak to the person.
Good, we like that.
And we had to have a special project, so I wrote up a grant, and Charlton was awarded one of the students that
And
the
this will
state.
be contamination?
There will be, I had to give them a special project, and I have
Yes.
to see them. So what they'll be working on is all the contamination and developing a report on addresses and contamination and an overall outlook of all the contamination sites in Charlton, and doing I'm gonna have it in a pamphlet form
Mhm.
of some kind of update on what's going
Okay.
on, and that's gonna be the project for 10 weeks. It's a difficult project, but they wanted it to be difficult, so I felt that that was a good project for Charlton.
Okay, good,
So,
that's good. More information and helping you out even.
more
now?
information with the water lines going in and stuff, hopefully, the water line, and that would be an informational piece, like almost a newsletter that would post on our website and for the town residents, so hopefully we find out by the end of next week. They're doing their interviews now, and they're gonna focus on the person's strength and send someone here that has that background, because they're actually graduated, and this is part of the graduation piece of it, is to work, and they're giving them a step up in the public health aspect.
Nice,
So.
good. Well, that's good news.
Jim Malley having an easy time now? He's
I
a lot
did
of
meet
perks
with
coming in.
Yeah, I did meet with Jim today at his house. He's going to be coming in next Tuesday on his own now. He's feeling strong enough.
Okay.
So he was well today, looks good. I brought him a bunch of plans. We signed off on a couple today, and he's healthy enough to get out, and he's doing good, and he thanks the board for their support. But he put on a little weight, he looked good.
Good.
So, and next Tuesday, instead of me going to him, he's going to come into the office.
Good.
I told him as long as Andrea's not sick, because she's been sick, and Kim's sick now, he don't really want him coming in if someone's sick,
Right,
because he's still susceptible to,
yeah,
I do wear a mask when I meet with him, so,
okay, good.
but yeah. Things we did get a bunch of applicants, so he's reviewing the plans now. We go from Tuesday to Tuesday, so we'll be back Tuesday.
Okay. Anything
Very
else,
good.
Jim?
Nope, that's about it for now.
I wanted to bring one thing up. Gould Road, water contamination in some of the wells.
Yeah,
Those people
Gould-
are still getting bottled water, they're still getting tested.
I did, on that subject, I worked on it all day today with Robin.
Oh, perfect.
We made a map, and I'm gonna send you guys the map. It's gonna show you all the contaminated properties on Gould Cemetery Road and Lamb's Pond Circle that really have not been addressed. I've not been receiving reports from ExxonMobil or Kleinfelder since 10 of 17. The DEP's allowed them, they've allowed them to do it every 6 months now.
So they're due this month.
They're due, and I called Mark Baldy and said, Mark, what is going on? And what's going on with Gould Cemetery Road? They actually didn't give it to Kleinfelder ExxonMobil, they gave it to Forensic, which is a separate company, to look at it. So
Okay.
there is someone with a POET system, and there are 3 or 4 people on bottled water.
Yeah, I know one of them, that's one
Yeah.
of the reasons why.
So that's something that Robin and I spoke today in length. We've worked on it, and she'll be on the phone with Mary Jo Pigsley, if not already, to find out, hey, what are we gonna do about this before that water line is, going along.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where is that Lamb's Pond Circle?
Right off of, just before the Mass Pike, it's a little cul-de-sac, a little circle. Is it Center Depot Road? If you come off of 20 and go straight down, you're headed towards Ronnie's.
Mm-hmm.
Just before you get to the overpass, it's a little cul-de-sac, Lamb's Pond, right by the Mass Pike.
Oh, yeah.
So that seems offbeat compared to Cemetery Road
Yeah, that's a ways
and
away, isn't it?
Gould Road.
You're right. One of them may be part of the 6 West thing that they were there, that all of a sudden they did a test. We just got a report for Lamb's Pond Circle. And then the Gould Cemetery Road, I called them and said, how come I haven't gotten any paperwork on Gould
Yeah.
Pond? Gould Road, Cemetery Road. He said, well, I have it, I'll send it to you. I said, why didn't I get it directly? People call me, asking me questions. I need to be informed, inform the board, inform the residents, and how can I do that if I don't have the proper paperwork? So I did speak to Robin today about it. We had Todd develop a map, and she is going to be making a couple phone calls.
That goes all the way over to, that other road there. Phil Stevens owned all that, and I perked all that
Mm-hmm.
along there. And it's all gravel in there too.
Oh, yeah?
They haul gravel out of there
Mm.
years
So
ago.
that's
for
just
the-
like a
It's
throughway for the
no,
water,
it
right?
don't. It's
Potentially.
it goes to that other road that the well company's on. Charlton Well,
north side?
North Side Road.
Yeah.
Goes right across, and I don't know why it's all gravel in it.
Mm.
And then when they put their Mass Pike in, they haul a lot of gravel out of there.
Oh, yeah.
So when I did the perks in there, he sold that.
So, to answer your question on Gould Road,
Yes.
Gould Cemetery, I did send you guys some of the results. I think I sent them to everyone, but that is not gone. That's not going to pass. I'm on top of it.
Okay, good.
Certainly, and I had a lengthy conversation with Robin today about it. So we had Todd work on a map for us, and that's going to be addressed.
Why is Todd working on
Todd has the ability to make a map
Ah.
and put contaminated POET system.
Oh,
So
really?
he has that ability in that system
He
in
has
his
the
office, and he can
software,
print
okay.
that.
All right.
I don't have, the only
Makes
reason
sense.
Todd did it because he has the
it?
software.
Yeah, sure. Oh,
And,
makes sense.
and that's why he did it. So normally we would have the map sent out and they would do it for us.
Okay.
We pay a company to do the mapping for us through the whole town.
If I can move along, grass cutting, is that going out for bid or?
I meet with FinCom tomorrow.
Okay.
Right now, we can't go out to bid because we don't have any money.
Okay, that's fine. And I think we had talked before as a board and said something like fall, maybe September,
Yeah,
October.
one mowing, I believe that's
One mowing,
important.
right.
But I did put together a budget, and I spoke to the finance director today and Robin about the budget, and I will be going before FinCom tomorrow night to speak on that subject.
Okay, so we're not missing the boat, I just wanna make sure.
No, just to go out to bid, we'd have to have the money, and it wouldn't be
Right.
appropriate to go out to bid with
Now, when they have the
230.
meeting, we're gonna go up to see if we can get some more money for that.
They're gonna have no choice.
I
This
mean, are we gonna go up and say, hey,
No, I'm going up before FinCom. I presented the budget for the health department. And the bill is not much change, but we ran out of money in our landfill account, that they used to put $12,000 a year through capital, and that stopped, but we had like $70,000, but that didn't last very long. Now,
At
when
the
you're
town
paying five-
meeting, you can't go up there and,
Well, FinCom can approve, and I think Robin's gonna put together almost a capital item for that, which will replenish our funds. So we can do remember the DEP mandates that we do these things, you can't miss the deadlines. So Gary sent the bill today and Robin did pay it, so Gary has been, there's no lapse in the work, the bills are being paid, but we certainly need more money. So it's my responsibility to go and say, hey, our two landfills are out of the money on behalf of the board, that, you know, this is, I did get the estimates of continued service, and we need to just get through fiscal 2018, so.
He gave us an estimate of 35,000 a year, was it?
That was only for one, that was for 90 or not.
Okay. Just trying to.
It's gonna be more than
remember.
58. Remember, we gotta pay for mowings,
Yes.
and if there's, we still have 3 homes that we're testing, and we still have to test all the wells, so that alone is $10,000 a whack, so you got quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4, and we still have to maintain that filtration system, provide testing for that. There've been 3 consecutive non-detects at those properties, but it's still, there is detection in one of the wells that has 1,4 and some VOCs.
Monitoring well.
That monitoring wells
Yes.
in the landfill itself, but nothing within 500 feet.
Did, through the chair, did you see the email we got yesterday about the correspondence between CMG and DEP?
Yeah, DEP very well may require the town
Yeah, we got some issues coming right up.
to not only continue monitoring, but to cap the old
The old
landfill.
landfill.
And that's
All those
something,
different-
and I've been encouraged by the town administrator to make sure I bring that up, that although it has not come before us yet, expect that the DEP may require Charlton to move forward to cap that landfill closest to the old one that's been dormant for quite a while.
How
But-
many acres?
Well, the whole landfill itself is 10,
9 at a time, yeah.
yeah.
So it costs, what,
Remember,
$1
this
million
portion-
for the 17-acre one, right? Roughly $1 million to put the cap, the rubber membrane.
This is a lot smaller than that portion of it, but it was
Oh.
what, $380,000 for the liner, I believe.
we already got the monitor wells in there too.
Yeah.
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 It was thrown out there for the board to be thinking outside the box as far as capping the landfill and maybe not using a membrane, plastic membrane.
How do you use, what else could you use?
I don't know, but
Clay?
it was thrown out there. Well, I just don't know.
I don't know either.
But it
They've
was
come up with new technology.
time to
and
start
stuff, but-
thinking outside the box for that project.
Okay.
But if any board member wishes, we'll be at FinCom at 6:45 in the selectman's office tomorrow evening to bring the budget forward. But that, the landfill account is a big issue. It's not, we have to do it.
Mandatory.
It's mandatory.
Mandatory expense.
That AECom survey that came out that required the minimum to do, and that's what we're abiding by. So.
Yeah. Good. Through the chair.
Yes.
So my comment about the email that we got yesterday wasn't so much on the capping of the old landfill, but it was the distance from the well that's hot with the 1,4-dioxane.
Mhm.
3 residents, DEP was confirming that they are not water sources. And the response is, they are water sources. So that's my crystal ball is wondering what DEP's next step is.
If the DEP came back and said, you've got an issue here, would they give us some sort of lead time, so to speak, to get in, engineer and cap the well so that,
Well-
I mean, in June, they can't, theoretically here, they can't come and say, hey, you've got 6 months
No.
before the ground freezes.
They would certainly require that we act accordingly, and they give you a time frame.
Right.
But certainly, as you know, through the Southbridge contamination 1,4-dioxane, you can't adequately, although it works, it really can't be filtered unless they develop different technology. So it's not like MTBE where you can put a filtration system and feel pretty sound that it's being filtered. We've had no detections for the last 3 tests for those houses, so they're non-detect, which is a good thing.
But the testing is gonna, even if this continues, even if they got no hits for quarter, was it quarterly?
Quarterly, yep.
Yeah, even if they got no hits, how long would we have to test for?
Until you get no hits on anything.
For what, 10 years? 5 years, 3 years?
Could be 50 years.
Ultimately, it's gonna be the discretion, Mass DEP.
Okay.
But it, basically, the way those guys, my understanding of how it works, and it's very limited understanding, but we hire an LSP, licensed site
Yeah.
professional. So the licensed site professional is the one that charters the course on what happens. Based on his professional experience, this is what they recommend. DEP reviews the LSP and either adds to it or agrees to it. So if in like the last couple of things, the LSP says, you know, no action needs to be taken, everything looks good, we've been dry 3 quarters in a row.
Yep.
But DEP is reviewing that, and if they disagree or would like to add to it, then they step in and make their comments. And that's where we're at right now. They're talking about a distance on those 3 houses. But DEP was confirming that they're not water suppliers. And it was, yes, they are water suppliers. You know, right behind it was on filtration systems and/or bottled water. But something got stirred up right there.
Yeah.
And so there's the 2 sides with the 1,4-dioxane. You have the solid waste side that says, yeah, it's normal to have 1,4-dioxane in a landfill. But then there's the other side where it's like there's a contamination going on and the residents are affected, and that's where that 500-foot kicks in and kicks in and kicks in.
Okay.
And so it was through solid waste, I think, was having their concerns on yesterday's email. So I just, from what I can see, I think we're gonna have a couple more emails getting to the bottom of that.
When we tested that the old dump,
Mhm.
we didn't get no results that they're getting in the wells.
Correct.
So the dump has got nothing to do with it.
Well, what it is, from my understanding, Willie, and you're correct, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Mhm.
was correct. What the contamination that was found at those houses was not a contaminant in the well. However, in the monitoring wells of the old landfill, 54
Right,
Flint
right.
Road. However, because the landfill was there and at a certain time that did come up years and years ago,
Yeah,
that landfill is the most likely source of that contamination.
but it could be the septic too.
It could be a number of things, but they're gonna hold that landfill as the potentially responsible party until it's disproven, and they can say, no, this is where it came from.
But the one of the wells
There was
right
trichloroethylene,
there,
I believe.
59, I think, is right here. And that proves that there's nothing, no water, no dioxide in that monitor well.
Yeah, because one of the contaminations that, Jim, you're talking about, it comes in detergents and stuff like that. So up the street on Old Town Road, or Town Road, there was the highway barn, washing trucks. We tested that, and it came up clean.
Yeah.
So it ruled out at that point that it was coming from there and went back to the landfill.
Because that was, they brought everything from the dump up there when Barnes was on.
Mhm.
All the refrigerators and all that, they cut everything, and I remember it was like a junkyard.
And its day lots happened up there.
Yeah.
I think we
And that's-
will ask for the minimum required, and, but that's only gonna get us through till December 31st. If there is a hit and it extends out another 500 feet, it won't cover it.
I think we're on the verge of getting it extended, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I know.
And are they aware of it? Robin's
aware of it, yeah.
Robin's aware of it, okay.
And she gets, any updates I get, she gets the same updates.
Okay.
Gary also does some monitoring for the town, the MCP, work for her also.
Mhm.
But certainly, she was on it today, we discussed Gould Cemetery Road and Lamb's Pond Circle. She was on it, she's going to be speaking before that line goes through. We need to make sure that any areas that are contaminated that are protected, so she realized that, she's on it, so. I'll keep you informed of any changes, and I will, after the meeting tomorrow night, I'll certainly on Thursday, give the board members a call, and I'm sure it's going to be approved, they have no choice, but as far as that, there's nothing drastic and the budget is the same, you know. But that is a big key issue because we're out of money.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Does anybody else have anything? Jim, you're done?
I'm all set.
Matt,
Make a
nothing?
motion with adjourn?
I'll second. You want a second?
Second that motion?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Willie? Last one?
And now it's time for cake.
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:17.